Hey everyone, and welcome to another high alching guide for profit. Today we're going to be doing the pay to play items, and currently nature runes are kind of climbing back up. They're around 95 GP each, so we're going to use this as a baseline. And yeah, we're just going to go through a bunch of items that you'll be able to make profit on and kind of see what is the best item to alch for a profit. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any suggestions on items to alch, let me know and I'll take a look at it. But for right now, let's get on into it. So for the first set of items, they are going to be a little bit more expensive one, the Mystic Staffs. These make good money on them, roughly around 300 GP per, depending on the price you buy them for. Currently, they are buying for around 25,200. And with that, when you include the nature rune, you're going to be making a little over 200 GP per alch. This isn't a bad item. The downside is they don't have a lot circulated. So they're currently traded roughly combined around 10,000 times a day. These items are good to just let sit for a while and let them buy over time, and that way you can maximize your profit. The next item on the list is going to be the regular battle staves, and these ones are circulated a lot more. Combined, you're looking at close to 1.5 million, mainly from the air battle staves, which come from crafting, and you can get them for roughly around 9,040 GP. So when you can buy them for that, you're making around 150 to 200 GP per profit per alch. And with the buy limit of 18,000, you can hit the buy limit for the airs. The other three, they'll be a good substitute if for some reason you're already maxed out and you just need items to alch. Continuing down the trend, another item that's always good is the magic longbow. With the cost of nature runes and just the cost of alchs in general, everything's kind of creeping up to where you're not making as much as you did before. With the magic longbows, it's traded roughly around 3.3 million times a day with a buy limit of 18,000, and you usually can get them for a little under 1330 a piece. So with that, you're making roughly around 100 to 125 GP per alch. And again, with the 18,000 buy limit, you shouldn't have any issues hitting this limit. Following up, another item that is traditionally always profitable are going to be the Onyx E and the Dragonstone E bolts. All sets of these have a buy limit of 11,000, and for the Onyx bolts E, they're traded roughly around 820,000 times a day, and the Onyx Dragon bolts E, they're a little bit less, 28,000. So I just decided to put those in there just to see if they would work. Both of these you're going to be making roughly around 160 to 180 GP per alch, and that's at the insta buy price. If you want to settle for something a little bit less and wait on them, you would make more profit. And it's not a bad item to wait on, but there are definitely better other options out there. The Dragonstone bolts E, you're gonna get them for around 420 to 430 a piece, and you're going to be making roughly around 125 GP per alch. So for the cost per item, this is definitely more worth it compared to any other item so far, and you're making roughly around 20 to 25% return on investment, which is huge. Every 4 alchs, basically, you're going to get a free alch, which is kind of how it turns out to be. But these are circulated 2.4 million times a day, so this would be an item you should be able to hit the buy limit on for pretty easily. A couple little interesting items here are going to be the Diamond Bracelet and the Abyssal Bracelet. Both of these have a relatively low volume limit. The Diamond Bracelet's traded roughly around 250,000 times a day, and the Abyssal is 78,000 times a day. Both have a buy limit of 10,000, and with the diamonds, you're going to be making closer to around 150 GP per alch, whereas the Abyssal, you're going to be making more, but there's not as many in the game, so they might be a little harder to buy. and you're going to be making closer to anywhere from 150 to 200 GP per alch, depending on what you can buy them for. What I would suggest doing is, if you have the cash, let the abyssal bracelets sit overnight, so that way you can maximize the buy limit and put them in at a reasonable price, so that way you maximize your money. So those were the high volume items. Next, I'm going to go over the more profitable items per alch. However, you're not able to buy as many in the 4-hour limit. And we're going to start with the dragon items. This goes over the dragon longsword, dragon skirt, dragon legs, dragon battle axe, dragon dagger, and dragon halberd. And again, these are more expensive. So if you have a bigger cash stack, you're going to be making more money technically, but you're only going to be able to buy 70 per hour. So you shouldn't have any problem hitting that buy limit, especially with the fluctuation in prices. And currently, you can be making anywhere from 500 to 1000 GP per alch, depending on what you can get these for. So with the dragon longsword, it alchs for 60k, and if you're able to snatch it for around 59 to 100, that's an easy 8 to 900 GP per alch when you include nature runes. With the dragon plate skirt and plate legs, same thing. You can usually get them for anywhere around 1000 to 900 under the alch value price. The dragon battle axe is a little bit more expensive compared to the other ones. Usually you're making roughly around 400 to 500 GP per alch, depending on what you buy it for. And the dragon dagger, it's a cheaper item, and you still make good profit, usually around 400 to 500 GP. And finally, with the dragon halberd, you alchs for 150. So as long as you can pick it up for anywhere between 149,000 to 149,500, you're going to be making significant profit there. I would suggest not insta buying these unless you really need to, and just let them sit overnight for a decent price, like I said, around 1000 GP under alch value, and next day wake up and start alching. So on the list next is going to be everyone's favorite items, because everyone knows about them, and these are going to be the dragon hide bodies. These specifically ones are going to be black, red, and blue, and black and red have a buy limit of 70, whereas the blue has a buy limit of 125. The black is traded roughly around 200,000 times a day, red around 175, and blue 185,000 times. With that being said, you can make significant profit on these. If you want to wait, I've seen people make 1000 GP easily on each one. If you're in a rush, then you can buy them usually for around 7,400 for the black, anywhere from 74 to 7,500 for the black. For the red, usually around 6,000 to 6,100, and for the blue, usually you can get it for around 5.1k. With those prices in mind, you're going to be making roughly around 500 GP per alch for the red and the black, and the blue you're going to be looking at about a 400 GP profit. And lastly, I just wanted to throw some random items in there, and these items are essentially items that have a very low buy limit or are just so obscene, but they have decent margin. And these are going to be the dragon medium helmet, the lava battle staff, the torn prayer scroll, the rune dagger plus, and the rune spear. With the DMed, you can only get 8 every 4 hours, which I don't understand why, but currently it has a huge profit margin, anywhere from 1.9k to 2.5k depending on the price. The downside is, again, you can only buy 8 every 4 hours, so this will only 15k profit within those 4 hours. With the lava battle staff, you're going to be making roughly around 800 GP, because you can usually pick them up for well under 10,000 GP, closer to usually around 9,200, and it has a high alch value of 10.2. So this is not bad, but again, the buy limit is only 8, so you really are pretty limited on this, but it's a good way to make a quick 10k if you needed to. The Torn Prayer Scroll is an item that fluctuates quite a bit. Depending on the price, if you let it sit overnight, you can usually make around 1.1k per alch. You can only buy 5 of them every 4 hours. With the Rune Dagger P+, this item isn't too bad, but it's just not in the game enough. It's usually traded around 700 times a day. It has a buy limit of 70, which is really good. And usually you can pick it up for anywhere from 4,000 to 4,200. With the high alch value of 4,800, you're going to be making anywhere from 4 to 600 GP. Again, the problem is there's only 700 traders a day, so you may not even hit the buy limit throughout the day. And lastly is the Rune Spear. This one's just another random item. It is traded 70 times a day, but there's only 2.2k in the game. Basically, it alchs for 12,480. Pick it up under 12,000 GP per, so you're making roughly around 300 to 400 GP. So here is a list of all the items we went over. And if you just wanted to skip to this, I completely understand. I know I can be boring at times, but here's just an overview of everything. So here are the items. Here are the total volume that you can get, or they're usually traded roughly around each day. Here are the buy prices that you can get for. Here is the total buy limit. So essentially, as many as you can buy within a 4-hour period. Here are the total profits for each one. As you see, the items that you can only buy a low quantity of are usually a little bit higher profit. So you have to combine some of these, and the ones that you can buy, 18,000, 11,000 for, you're making good money, but not nearly as much. So if you have unlimited money, usually you want to go for these items here. These are going to be the dehides and the dragon items, just because they're going to be the most profit. And when you break it down, you can do about 1,200 alchs an hour. So combined, when you max out your buy limits for each item, you're going to be making roughly around these prices. And total, you're going to be making roughly around 488,000 per 700 alchs roughly, which is about 40 minutes. So you can combine these items plus other items as well to make a little more money. So you're probably going to be averaging closer to 550k per hour. If you have a good amount of money, but you just want to buy everything up front and not deal with buying multiple items, then I would suggest going with the battle staffs and the Onyx bolts E. So with the battle staffs, you're going to be making roughly around 240k an hour, plus depending on what the price you can get them for. If you can get them for the price that I put them at, it's going to be about 240k. And the Onyx bolts E are going to be about 216k an hour. So usually what I would say is fluctuate between the air battle staffs and the Onyx bolts E if you have a lot of money. And if you want to kind of switch it up a bit, you can buy the other battle staffs. And finally, if you're just broke, the items I would probably go for are going to be the magic longbow and the bracelets. This is because you can max out the buy limit, and they are relatively cheap. Since they're cheaper, you're not going to be making as much money per hour, but you can usually buy the buy limit if you have enough money within 4 hours. So 1,200 alchs per hour, you're going to be making 150k for magic longbows, 180k for diamond bracelets, and 240k for abyssal bracelets. And again, this is all dependent on the prices that I had on screen prior, so if you can get them cheaper, more money. But just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you guys can like, comment, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.